Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps has seized two cargo ships, the MSC Francesca and the Epaminondas, in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran accuses the vessels of operating without authorization and manipulating navigation systems. The U.S.-Iran ceasefire has been extended to give the two sides more time to try and reach a peace deal. Washington says its naval blockade will continue, but Tehran warns talks won't happen until the blockade ends. Well, Foad Izadi is an associate professor at University of Tehran, and he joins us now live from Tehran. Professor Izadi, thanks for being with us here on Al Jazeera. It was U.S. President Trump who announced the extension of the ceasefire, but that's on American terms and with the naval blockade of Iranian ports still in effect. What do you expect we'll be hearing from Iranian government officials as a response?
I think they may accept that offer of ceasefire. The only problem we have is that blockading countries is considered an act of war under international law. And also, when you're negotiating under international law, you're supposed to negotiate in good faith. When countries engage in acts of war during negotiations, not a good sign. So overall, I think there is a lot of doubts about whether the United States is really interested in negotiations or they're just getting prepared for the next round of attacks on Iran. And this is the general feeling a lot of people in Iran have, that whether they are serious or they are just buying time and getting prepared for the next time they want to attack Iran.
Professor Izadi, Iranian government officials have insisted that there will be no continuation of talks in Islamabad until the U.S. lifts its blockade of Iranian ports. You were talking about how much distrust there is of the U.S. from the vantage point of Iranian officials. I want to ask you if you believe that there might be any other concessions that could be made or any gestures made by the U.S. that would compel Iran to participate in another round of talks, or is this blockade the red line?
I think they need to do something about the blockade. And yes, there are other things that can be done. For example, over $20 billion of Iranian assets have been blockaded by the United States. They're sitting in different banks. These are illegal sanctions. These are unilateral sanctions passed by the U.S. Congress. These are not related to UN or any other international body. So releasing Iranian money would be a good gesture. Maybe Trump not using profanity when he talks about Iran, because you're supposed to lower rhetoric if you're serious about negotiations. The other side can do things that can send Iran signals that they're actually ready for peace.
Professor Izadi, President Trump, he's pivoted to a zero enrichment demand in this new proposal. We know that enrichment, that's been a sticking point up until now. You're somebody who closely follows U.S. foreign policy. I want to ask you if there's any scenario that exists in which Iran might agree to remove enriched uranium from Iranian soil.
This was Iran's proposal in New York when the Iranian delegation went there in September last year for the UN General Assembly. Iran's president was there, the foreign minister was there. And that offer was given to avoid war. And this was one of the offers that Iran had in February to avoid war. But now that we have experienced war, more than 3,200 civilians killed, extensive civilian infrastructure. There are a lot of people in Iran that think that U.S. may be thinking about using tactical nuclear weapons against Iran. Some of the factories that are producing these missiles are underground, and the only way you can really destroy them, you cannot do it with conventional weapons. And one worry Trump has is that if he uses nuclear weapons against Iran, then that would give Iran permission to build nuclear weapons of its own. Everybody would understand why Iran would be doing that when Iran is attacked by nuclear weapons. So he wants to make sure that Iran doesn't have those enriched uraniums, so he doesn't have to worry about that. And Iranians realize that, so they are going to be very cautious. They may not repeat the same offer they had previously because of the war and because of this analysis that is widespread that conceding enriched uranium to the United States means being attacked by the United States using nuclear weapons.
Well, Foad Izadi is an associate professor at the University of Tehran, and he was joining us there live from Tehran. Professor Izadi, thank you so much for being with us here on Al Jazeera.